So I don't even know where to start with this video. So typically when I do old versus new comparisons, I review the oldest version of a figure to the newest version. But this Earthrise Ironhide is not the oldest version. We would either look at the original, 80s figure, which is a train wreck, or the Universe figure, which is a train wreck. Ironhide has had a rough time. We did not get a good Ironhide figure until Siege in 2019. And I did have that figure. However, when the Earthrise one came out, I got rid of it because I already have the Siege mold a couple different ways. And I'm not really worried about having a trillion different Ironhides. I don't have an Ironhide shelf. I don't have an Ironhide problem like I do Bumblebee and Optimus and Megatron and all them. I'm kind of one and done when it comes to Ironhide. So, when the Studio Series 86 one was originally a rumor, I was like, are we really getting another Ironhide? But then pictures came out and I was like, it's looking promising. And then I got it and I was like, yeah, this is it. I really do like the Earthrise. However, I think that there's things that it definitely needed help with, and I think that the Studio Series does a great job of tackling those issues. However, we need to address the elephant in the room. This is a huge elephant, and this is a problem that I just want to address and get out of the way immediately. Deluxe class, Voyager class. Not worth it. There aren't enough unique pieces to this transformation to warrant it being a Voyager class. When it comes to the Studio Series Voyager class Hot Rod, not only was the engineering very complex, but you also got a ton of accessories. With Ironhide, you get 2 guns. That's it. They don't give you extra accessories. And on top of that, if they would have given you some extra stuff, I think it would have been kind of justified. Yes, it's based off of the movie, but include some cartoon accessories. Why not? I mean, fill out the budget. However, when it comes to the plastic, believe it or not, I'm pretty sure it's about even. I haven't weighed them, but just feeling them, it feels about even. Now, this one does have a lot more engineering than this. It does. Because this figure is a retool of the Cybertronian Ironhide that was a pretty simplistic figure. And they had to make some compromises to be able to get the alternate mode out of him. And that's one of my biggest issues with this. I understand the original G1 Ironhide was a parts former. However, this Studio Series one proves that it doesn't have to be. Ironhide does not have to be a parts former. Not at all. The only real part of his vehicle that's still kind of sticking out is the front bumper. And it's pretty much in the same spot on the Earthrise. However, this one has an entire chunk of the vehicle just on his back. And the chest, I've seen some people say they still prefer the chest of the Earthrise, but it's got this big old hinge and it still has the front bumper on it. It still manages to have some of the bumper on the chest. However, this one, that's Ironhide. That, in my opinion, that is Ironhide. This is the definitive Ironhide. However, I just don't think it's worthy of being a Voyager. The figure itself, I feel is a little bit more than a Deluxe. Just a little bit, just a smidge. But it just doesn't come with enough to justify that. So anyways, getting that out of the way, let's do this comparison. This is the first decent Earth mode Ironhide compared to the most recent very good Earth mode Ironhide. So you can see the guns are pretty similar. This one has a circle in it. Unfortunately, when I got that accessory set, that came with the gray, the gray Centurion, I never got, in my set, I got 2 of the Shockwave gun, but I didn't get Ironhide's gun. I contacted Hasbro, and they said they'd help me out, but they never did. So, I never got Ironhide's special gun. But he just has this tiny little thing, that's all he has. He does have the big shield, which you can plug on his arm. And I believe when I did a video on this guy, I pointed out that this arm's kind of loose. Arm is kind of loose. Can't even hold up the weight. And this was how it was right out of the box, too. This arm's all right. But this arm is just, it's just not going to do it. I do kind of like this weapon, because you can kind of flip it one way, and it has this stabby end. But then, you flip it this way, and you can hinge it. And even though it kind of raises up, you do expose these guns, which are kind of cool. And it's just kind of this cool arm-mounted big blaster shield thing. but I just feel like it could have been executed a little better. It's just a big old chunk of the car, essentially, that you just, put on his arm. I think it works best if you have him hold it in his hand, because I think it just changes out the proportions a little better, especially when you get it in the gun mode. I think it just fits better as being a shield gun. I mean, the figure itself is fine. I mean, it's not bad by any means. It looks like a good Ironhide. Personally, I kind of prefer the head sculpt on this one over the Studio Series, but I understand where the Studio Series is like straight up, like that is cartoon Ironhide. You can see the legs are very simplistic. They're essentially just a few big shell pieces that fold over each other. And unfortunately, this big flap still doesn't really tab in. That was a big issue with the Studio Series. The biggest issue with it was that it just came off really easy. And even though it doesn't tab in still, at least it doesn't come off easy on this Earthrise version. It does have ankle pivot, but these feet are still the Siege Ironhide feet. And we'll see how that is a big problem in the vehicle mode. However, the articulation's fine. He's got a ball joint at the head, swivel at the waist, universals at the shoulders. He's pretty much all there. Does not have, actually does have a swivel at the wrist. For some reason I thought he didn't. But he doesn't have like any hinge at the wrist, and we'll get into how that's a little bit of a problem. I mean, he's got knees, he's got ankles. It's not bad. It's not bad. One accessory I do want to bring in because it's one of my favorite Ironhide accessories of all time. This version of it, because I got rid of my Siege Ironhide, this version actually comes from the Crosshairs repaint. And that is this really cool, like, hammer rocket launcher thing. I just think this is such a cool accessory because you can flip it the other way, too, and it looks like another kind of rifle. I just like it a lot. I feel like Siege Ironhide has always kind of struggled to hold it a little bit because his hands are just on swivels. It looks decent, under the arm, but he's always kind of struggled with it. And we'll get into how the Studio Series works with that weapon. So, Studio Series time. About the same size figure. The articulation is very similar. You get a ball joint at the head, but you also get this additional hinge for transformation, which really helps him looking down. So you can actually put him in the Megatron killing Ironhide pose, which is kind of funny. Anyways, one thing I really do like is how they did the shoulders, because you can see they've got that like fake bit that makes him seem a little more filled out. The articulation's really nice in the arm. You still have a swivel at the wrist, but this time for the transformation you also have an up and down, which I feel is very useful for the articulation as well. Still have a waist. This is one issue I kind of have with it. As someone who has built over 200 Gundam kits, I know all about how a good front skirt is engineered. And this ain't it. So essentially, it's all one piece. It's like a gym from Mobile Suit Gundam, where it's all one big piece. And unfortunately, when you kick one leg up and you have it straight, it looks kind of awkward. I think how they should have done it, you can see the center piece exposes the mushroom pegs. That should have just been there. That should have just stayed there. And you see these cuts? That should have been where these pieces can hinge. It just should have been these individual hinge pieces. I can see how Hasbro wouldn't like that because, oh, it's extra pieces for the engineering. But when you increase this Deluxe to a Voyager price point, I would like to think you could afford something like that. But other than that, I don't really have any complaints with him. He still has some panels on his legs. You can see it does still flip out, but it locks in. Like, it's not just going to flop around. You have to actually, like, knock it out of place. Like, you can actually feel it press in. Those aren't going anywhere in just casual posing and play. The ankles, too, are very nice. They're almost like Combiner Wars Brawl, where you can, like, hinge them up and hinge them back, and you still get ankle pivot. The ankles are very nicely done. And one nice thing about these guns, they're painted silver, number one, which is nice. I mean, obviously, Ironhide dual-wielded them in the movie. Wielded is such an odd word for me. I can never say it. Like, whenever I want to say wielded, I just say wield. I don't want to do the past tense. You can tab these to his back. And the connection's not the firmest. Like, I can kind of tell they will knock out of place if I'm not careful. But still, he's got robot mode weapon storage. And I kind of value robot mode weapon storage more than vehicle mode weapon storage. But with how his wrist works and how it bends down. I personally like him with this weapon a lot, because now he can hold it and look really, really cool. Look at that wrist hinge. Look at how that's working. That looks sweet, man. Come on, that's Ironhide. Ironhide here. Come on, Prime, let me blast him. I just love it. Say hi to my little paperweight back there, by the way. I nudged to the camera. But yeah, it's great. I love this Ironhide. Besides the hip skirt thing, I pretty much have no issue with it. I think it's a really good Ironhide. I really like it. So, God, look at that. That's gorgeous. Here, let's make it even nicer looking. Let's get this ankle down like this. And then this ankle, we can move forward. And then let's move that wrist a little bit. Move the waist. Let's get some posing. Let's get some posing going. During my posing, I did knock a gun out, so keep that in mind. Yeah, look at that, dude. Look at that. Pwah, Ironhide here. I love it. Whenever I think of Ironhide, I always quote the Dark of the Moon leader class. Ironhide here, weapons ready. Anyways, let's transform the Earthrise. So this transformation, like this base figure, is essentially just a reshelled version of Siege Ironhide. You can see it still has a lot of the Siege detailing. However, one thing too, he's got this very clear windscreen, and you can just see his head poking out. You can just see it. That's not that big of a deal. Not the end of the world. Another thing too, for still being an Earth mode Ironhide, he still does have the Cybertronian wheels. They didn't retool that. Oh boy. I mean, it's not a bad figure, like I said, but there are flaws. This is not a perfect Ironhide, because transforming it, I think the Siege worked well because like it was Cybertronian, and I think just turning this Cybertronian Ironhide into an Earth mode, like it just wasn't really possible without cutting so many corners. Because it just wasn't designed to turn into Ironhide's Earth mode. It just wasn't. Just straight up not how this toy was designed to ever exist. Let's get that a little bit more together. Like you can see I'm kind of struggling here to get everything lined up. Because it's like new pieces over old pieces. But there we go. There's the truck mode. Oh no. Essentially the Siege Ironhide had a more complete front, and they're just like, oh, the arms and the feet sticking out are just a part of the Cybertronian alt mode. But yeah, that's if you ever lose the shield, say hello to your Earthrise Ironhide. Say hi again to the little paperweight. Why do I keep doing that? Anyways, let's transform the big old shield. Easiest way to get this on is to fully flip these clear pieces out. And by the way, nice little clear pieces. Say hi to the clear hinges. And then need to have the guns pushed in, and this will essentially tab in to the 4 slots on the arms and the shoulders. Once you get that tabbed in, it's going to squeeze everything else out of place, but you just line it up. I said you just line it up. I said you just line it up. Am I lining it up? There we go. Lining it up. Putting those down. Clicks in nice. And honestly, once you get the shield on, not a bad alt mode. It's not. It's Ironhide. You do have this nice big black block there where the shoulder is. And you still have the feet sticking out. And you're working with like 3 different tones of red. Like a dark red, and like a normal red, and like a brighter red. Kind of jarring. He's given me some Universe Ironhide vibes with how broken up it looks, because this is a very interesting retool. It definitely comes off as a very compromised release. But it was a good Ironhide. But I knew that it could have been done better. And thankfully, we didn't have to wait too long for that. So, this Ironhide. Again, similar to similar comparisons I've done, it does share some elements of the previous Ironhides. However, they learned from those previous Ironhides. And what they gave us was a very, very good interpretation of the character. So one nice thing, you can see there's this added flap right here that's going to add a lot of coverage to the top of the vehicle. And we can get the head in. And because it's a more blue windshield, you don't see the head as clearly. The arms will go up. And it does have the similar transformation where the torso does this nice little rotation. Just need to figure out how to do it again. Because I know you can see the swivel right there. How do we do this? Oh no, how do we do this? I'm panicking, I'm not doing this right. How? Okay, there we go. Untab that, and then you can rotate it as an additional tab. And then we can close that up. And then the arms will be able to line up. And they do go in a similar spot to the Earthrise, but they will be nicely covered. Because the legs, they do a lot to conceal the... I mean, these legs are like the real MVPs, because so many panels come out from these legs. It is quite impressive. So, you flip these panels around. And this panel here is actually to make way for the feet, because the feet uncurl. And I guess this is where they decided a lot of the extra parts come from, because the feet actually form a decent chunk. And you can see the feet also very nicely form the back, so you're not left with an icky, yucky back. The arms actually do somewhat contribute to the side of the vehicle, I remember. Oh yeah, the hands go down. That's why the hands go down. Yeah, the arms actually do ever so slightly contribute. You just have to get them in the right position. I believe they go up there like that. So yeah, it's nice to see that some robot mode bits do contribute to the alt mode. This is just a nice Ironhide, man. Do I think it's worth a Voyager price? Bit of a stretch. Say hello once again to the freaking... Ah, man. Oh, that paperweight's getting so much love today. Oh, jeez. I'm sorry. I just keep nudging the camera. I've got this really annoying handle on my tripod, and my arm just nudges it all the time. And today, I guess it just really needs some attention. that paperweight, I guess it hasn't gotten enough love lately. So you can see there's a lot of panels that need to be squeezed together. It's definitely a more involved transformation for sure, but you do get a very nice vehicle mode in the end. You just have to line everything up, tab it together. The tabs are pretty nice and secure as well. I remember some reviewers have had issues with getting this to line up perfectly, and I know I did as well, and I figured out how to do it. And I'm trying to remember how I managed to do that. I think you just have to push it just a little further. Yeah, there we go. Push that a little further and that'll tab in. Anyways, here we go. Here's Ironhide in his more proper 80s nice van mode. And you can see it still does have a little bit of color separation. The colors, like, you still have like 3 different reds you're working with, unfortunately. It's hard to color match when it's different materials and painted reds and plastic reds. It's not that big of a deal. Honestly, it wasn't that big of a deal on this one, and I don't think it is too much on this one. However, you're left with a lot nicer of a vehicle. A lot nicer. Similar size, similar feel, but like I said, it's nicer. What can I say? It's just done a lot nicer. When it comes to the weapons, there is no internal weapon storage. It's just the pegs on the top. You can just plug the weapons in and he'll just pew-pew from the roof of the car. No biggie. Honestly, kind of looks like weird horns, so I probably won't do that. Yeah, there we go. Old versus new on Ironhide. Which one do I prefer? Well, it's pretty easy. I think the Siege one is great. Actually... let's bring the star of the show in here to finish it off. There's that paperweight. It's a little dusty. Probably need to wash it off. Alrighty, guys. There we go. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I do believe this Ironhide will be going to another home. I just don't think I need it anymore. Will I keep the Ratchet version? Well, we'll just have to wait and see on the Studio Series Ratchet. Will I make another comparison video of those? Probably not. Pretty much the same toy. You get the gist. Might make a YouTube Shorts on that, but we'll see. I might end up keeping the Ratchet version of this mold. I don't know yet. I'll let you know. Alrighty, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Special shout out to the patrons of Patreon, as always. Thank you all so much for the continued support. Alrighty, guys. There we go. Thanks again. Have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.